Welcome to the Mouthful, a podcast dedicated to conversation with interesting people, understanding different backgrounds and stories. My name is James, I'm your host. Today I have Clemcat Hughes. He's an
Hey, what's up,
artist.
James?
He's a creative. So I am curious. I was connected to you by our mutual acquaintance, my best friend Aaron. How he didn't even detail how you guys came to know each other. What's the story there?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, it was really awesome. I work at Starlight Room, River City Revival, technically, like in the kitchen in the back. But Aaron works on the bus, like the 1A or the 1B or something like that. I've only ran into him 3 times, but like the first time I ran into him, I was just like, "Hey man, I just got off work. It's like 1:30 in the morning." And
Oh right, yeah, late night shift.
yeah, totally. And I was just like, wow. No, I'm getting mixed up. The first time I met him, I needed to get to the Walmart by 11 o'clock. I was like, I needed to get to the Walmart before it closed at Capilano. And he was like, I'll do my best. And I had just been working so late that I fell asleep on the bus, right? And then I woke up to him being like, we were already first name basis. And he's like, Clem, come on, man. You gotta get up. And I was like, oh, shit. I missed it. That was the first time that we met. And then the second time, I was busking with my friend who's a trumpet player at the Avril Lavigne concert.
Oh okay.
Oh, hey, man, it's you. Right on. Hey, that's super dope. I was telling him what we were doing and stuff. And then I guess that's what led us to each other because the third time when I got on the bus, he's like, dude, I've been waiting to see you, man. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, he's like, my friend's doing this podcast. And he asked me if I knew anybody who would be good to talk to. And he's like, you're the first one that came to mind. And I was instantly flattered, obviously, right? Being that
Wow,
I'm,
that's
go ahead. No,
That's funny that okay, so that he had, well, I knew he said specifically I had sent out like messages because I was wanting to basically like make a new podcast and have interesting guests on and everything, and then I asked a whole bunch of people. I asked, and then Aaron was like, I do have someone in mind, just let me get back to you on that. And I'm like, oh okay, and he was just like specifically, oh, give me one moment, give me a little bit and I'll get back to you. And then he comes back and
that
says
warms
your
my
name.
heart, man. Yeah, that warms my heart. That's so spectacular. Because, like, I'm a strong believer in, like, the connection of people. Hey?
Yeah.
Like, my latest saying that I have is, how when you're like younger and everybody was like, "Oh, good people are few and far between."
Right. Yeah.
Recently, I've been thinking about that, and I'm just like, the world's full of good people. It's just
Yes. Yeah.
actually not letting the negative people get us jaded,
One
so that
million
we can't
percent.
even
I
see
hundred
those
percent
good
agree.
people. So that's
Yeah.
where like my most latest saying is, yeah, if good people are few and far between, I want to be the few that make the far between seem so much closer. Okay?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. That's a good way to think about it. And I mean, Aaron is the same way, where we believe people in the majority of people are good and want to do good. Sometimes they might not even know how to in the world, or making a change. But like, yeah, I definitely believe that. I think most people are good, and it's just the negativity and the people. That's a great way to put it. The people who get in between, or who want to kind of assume that all of humanity is terrible. And I just hate that that argument,
Well,
that
it's,
like we're
it's
all terrible, we're all shit.
totally. It's really easy to believe. Like, it's really easy to not. It's really easy to allow ourselves to believe that everyone is shitty or bad
Yes.
when we're having a terrible day. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? It's like it's really easy to just like feed into it.
Yeah, it's actually easier. That's true.
But I feel like every one of those little things that we do where we don't let it get the best of us, that's when people truly uh, people see that. Like people see somebody get like verbally attacked or like treated poorly in
Yeah.
public. You know what I mean? And um, they'll always like it's. I feel like it stands out more when they don't like when the other person doesn't overreact,
Yeah.
when the other person doesn't get angry and freak out, they don't let the negative energy feed into them. I feel like even if it's not the two people that are having that interaction, there are people across the street. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They see somebody
Yeah.
yelling, and then they see somebody act passively towards somebody who is like verbally attacking them, and how that person reacted calmly
Hmm.
will resonate more
Yeah, it is. That's true. Yeah.
than the negativity when you have
Yeah.
the opportunity to. You know, like it's also, you know, there's a saying, if I don't do this, somebody else will, which I see kind of
Hmm.
as like a cop out to be like,
Yes,
I'm going to
exactly.
do this shitty thing. Hey, I'm going to be a horrible person because if I don't do it, somebody else will. And it's more so, it should be, I don't do it, somebody else won't.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, exactly. It's true. And I mean, I think you I think the a way that we can really see, like when people say that just want to disparage all of humanity, I mean the majority of times if you were to see a random woman starting to get beaten up in the street, like the amount of usually, and I can't say always, but the usually the amount of how many people would turn and make a scene, or just to make get in between or do something, is it is inspiring in a way, because it's just like I personally think that there's kind of like a overarching belief in humanity that like you do know what's wrong. Sometimes you might have other creeds, or like you have beliefs that I think impede your own humanity, not the other way. Like I think it's as books or whatever dictating how you act, but
Full
you yourself
indoctrinated
would
knowledge.
know. Exactly. I mean, people who've said like, "Oh, we're from this cult or religion, and it said that my mom could get beaten by my dad, but like I knew that like
Mhm.
how it made us feel as children. Like that's a pure belief, because also you're innocent, you're a child, you're a blank slate at the time. That's why I say no. That you knew in your heart, even if you that whatever that guy ended up changing and like fell into the indoctrination himself, because that pure soul of a child being like, I wanted to defend my mom, but I was too small and like I didn't know what to do.
Oh,
So I do think that deep down there is a universal, what we know is really, and maybe not grays areas, but like truly bad and truly good, like
no,
truly good
in
and
the
truly bad
core,
things.
yeah, what you're saying, absolutely. Like in the core of humanity, there is there is like a heart there. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like there's regardless of the amount of people that we see like try to chip away at it. You know what I mean? Because
Hmm.
there is this golden group of people that maybe we haven't even met, just like you and I haven't even met. You know, like there's this golden group of people, or like Aaron who led me to you. Like he saw the true human within me,
Hmm.
even though we only met 3 times. But
Yeah.
he saw that, and that's what guided us to be talking to each other, which is
Yeah, exactly. It's
amazing.
Yeah, it's actually it's so cool. It is actually kind of magical. And yes, I can vouch for Aaron. Aaron is definitely one of those people. He's probably one of the best human
Oh, I
beings
could
I
see
know,
his face.
legitimately.
Like he's got a beautiful soul, man. You know what I mean? Like positivity. I could see
Yeah.
it right away.
Yeah,
And that's
exactly.
great. It's amazing when you can find those things, because I feel like that's like the core of uh, humanity, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody's so busy fighting because everybody wants to prove something. Okay,
Yeah,
everyone wants to be like, I want to make my parents happy. I want to make my, you know what I mean? I want to follow
yeah,
my belief system that I was raised in or whatever.
yeah.
And that is fine, you know, like it's like I strongly believe, like I went to a Catholic school, kindergarten to grade 12, in
Okay.
a small town, 2 hours east of Edmonton. And I came out of that more so taking the beauty of belief and religion and stuff. And then
Oh,
the
okay.
funny thing is, when people say the word religion, it's horrifying. You know what I mean? You're like, oh God, this guy's going to start preaching to me. No, it's whatever religion anyone wants to believe in. If it gives them, doesn't, I don't feel like humanity can exist without hope, and
Yes.
hope
Yeah.
can exist without faith. And whether it be that you have faith in Taco Tuesday, and if you have faith that every Tuesday you could go and
Yeah.
you can get cheap tacos for $2, man, then
Yep.
amazing. But if that gives you, like, if you have faith in that and that faith gives you hope, then
Yeah.
you can be a better person, right? Because without hope, that's where, I don't know, that's where I feel like things kind of fall apart.
I mean, that's true. Hope is like everything. I mean, the Greek myth of a Pandora's box being opened, all the evil in the world, but then the last thing that was in there was hope, and humanity clings to it. And it's true. Like if we don't have anything else, of all the with all the stuff that in the world, if we have that hope in safe, we keep that safe. It's true. That's how people get through. Terrible situations, get through
Yeah,
everything.
absolutely. Yeah, that's like my grandmother, God rest her soul. Uh, she was the most amazing woman. So much compassion, so much faith. Uh, and I remember being a kid. I was probably like 6 or 7 years old, and I heard my dad said God was John Cleese.
I don't even think he'd like
So my
that.
dad says that, and then meanwhile I'm going to a Catholic school, and my grandmother is just like a saint. And yeah, I remember just asking her when I was probably like 6 or 7. I was just like, Granny, doesn't it bother you that people don't believe the same thing that you do? And she looked at me and she was like, Clem, she's like, no, every day. She's like, when I feel like people need guidance, I will pray for them. If
Yeah,
they choose not to, it's not my place to tell them what to believe. Okay?
yeah,
She's like, if they choose not to, that's okay. I'll just continue praying for them.
yeah. That's a
And
good way
then
to
the
think
beautiful
about it.
thing is when she
That's
passed
right.
away, and I have no idea what she meant, went out with a bang. Uh, her quote on her memorial card was, "This wasn't my idea." When she left this earth, she was responsible for 150 people being on this earth. Okay, from
150.
her 12, and from her 12 kids, and all the kids
Okay.
that they had. By the time
Oh,
she
right.
passed
Yeah.
away, she was
Oh,
responsible
wow.
for 150 people being on this earth.
That's kind of
And
cool. She like
yeah,
she like made a village, made a population.
yeah. Well, she did. She followed Catholicism, you know.
Yeah, that's
Catholic-
true.
Catholics are like rabbits, man.
It's true. Yeah, they just
They're always
yeah.
fucking
There's a
something.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Okay, so yeah, we just got into this philosophical conversation, which is
Sorry,
great.
man.
I
Yeah.
but I am interested, like you in your as one can see, you have all the artwork behind you, and you're a painter.
Uh, I'm a multifaceted artist right now. Like, yes, I'm a painter. I put on several art shows and equally group art shows. Um,
Oh, okay.
I'm in the process of building a big one for next summer, but I don't want to talk about that too much because you know a friend of mine always said if you talk too much about an idea before you achieve it, then you receive the dopamine from adulation of the idea, and then the idea
Hmm.
might never be achieved. But yes, yeah, I am a painter, and I call my style slop art. So it's
Slop
slop art, yeah. So it's like
slop
pop
art.
art. So it's like popular culture, but it's not about
Oh, I see.
yeah, it's like popular culture, but it's also not about achieving absolute perfection like you know, Michelangelo or like people that trained under, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
not so much that, it's about getting the idea across of like what's the
Y-
humor in it. Like the one right behind me here, there we go. This is
Mozart.
huh? Yeah,
Is
it's
that
Beethoven
Mozart?
Mozart.
Mozart, Beethoven, Mozart. Yeah.
And the background is a citadel in Vienna where they both have
That.
performed. Sorry?
Yeah.
It's a
That
citadel in
is
Vienna.
really beautiful. Sorry.
Oh, no worries. It's a citadel in Vienna where they both have performed separately.
Mhm.
Um, it wasn't specifically said that Bach was
They.
basically like,
Yeah.
fuck you, Mozart. But
Yeah.
Mozart was on his way coming up, man. He was the young buck in the game
Yeah. There's
of composing.
there's a musician drama at that time.
Yeah.
That is so cool that you can do the theater behind it, and I love and so your paintings are like and that is Aubrey Hepburn.
Yeah, that's Audrey. Yeah, for sure. She's dropping a gang sign. That's part of my gang sign
So
series.
yeah, so, and who's the one on the left in the red? Is that Vigo?
It's Charles Manson.
Charles Manson. Oh, God.
Yeah, it's Charlie. So I just didn't give him the. I made a point
I
of
mean, I
putting.
guess with those eyes, yeah. Jesus.
Yeah, right. So how that ended up. Well, sorry. Sidebar. Interesting fact. He's making the peace sign, but in reality, that is actually the West Side Killers gang sign.
Oh, well, he was that.
so the
He
whole
was that.
so the whole well the whole idea of the series is, and it all started here with Elvis.
Oh, that's Elvis. I thought that
It
was
all
Pete
started with
Davidson in
young
a weird
Elvis.
way. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I was trying to get better at doing. I was trying to get better at painting faces, so I started pulling up celebrity mugshots.
Hmm.
And one of the first ones I found was young Elvis. And so when I was painting it, I did his face, and then when I got down to the hands, the way that he was holding on, the way that his thumbs were holding onto the placard, right?
Hmm.
That said Elvis Presley, right? The way they were there, I was like, oh my god, he could be dropping the Bloods gang sign.
I love that you added that in. That's funny.
So
That's
that's
great.
what,
They're really good. Like when you see when you I didn't see that when up close, so like now it's definitely is clear that it wasn't Pete Davidson, but like they're when you actually see them, yeah, they definitely have their face. And it's funny that I see the uh, I can't I might is it Aubrey or Audrey? It's Audrey, isn't it?
it's
Audrey
Audrey
Hepburn.
Hepburn. Yeah.
It's so funny that you said that because my I was just in what is it called, a road trip with my mom, and she had said like this is the one time I was able to extract a sense of like extreme confidence, because I was like, yeah, um what did you look like when you were younger and stuff like that, and she said like, I what people would say is that I had a similar look to Audrey Hepburn. And then I was, we were looking at pictures of her, and it's just like, oh, and I saw like a few pictures of my mom before a time, but not that many.
Your
And
mom had
so that
that
was a
style, or you did?
Oh no, when she was younger, she looked a little. She says the people said she was similar
Oh
to
man, I would love
Audrey
to see
Hepburn.
that because that's style.
Yeah, I know. I
You
wish
know,
ex-
that's like style. Like that's yeah. If you're talking Audrey Hepburn, that's like
yeah,
fashionista. That's style, man. That's dope.
she was.
I would actually
Yeah,
see
it's.
a picture of of your mom when she was younger because that's
I
amazing.
know. I wish I could see it. I wish I could see it because she was like way different too when she was younger. I mean, now she's, um,
Well, we're always
like
different. We're always different when we're younger.
yeah, true. I was adopted. Obviously, if my mom looked like Audrey Hepburn.
Oh shit! Okay.
Um,
Wow,
yeah, and
man. No,
and
didn't we just didn't we just talk about this earlier though? It's not about like it's not about who you are or anything, right? It's like no matter what race, color, culture, creed, whatever, man. Anybody can look like
yeah.
Audrey Hepburn, dude. You can fucking you can have
Okay,
whatever. It
but
doesn't
I
matter.
did find it interesting that she had pointed that out. And like, it's funny because when yeah, she was like, by the time we were adopted, my parents were already a little bit older, so it's kind of like a whole mystery. I wish I could know of what they were like when they were younger, and completely
Oh
different from
yeah, man.
when they raised us. Yeah, yeah, that's funny that you had a picture of her, draw a painting of her.
Yeah, for sure. I actually made a point of like she was the last one I did of the series. The best part is it looks like she's wearing a house coat.
Yeah.
But when I do my art, uh I love putting like deep stories into it. You know what I mean? Like you can see like a Rothko and it's just like four colors smeared together and you're just kind of like, "Oh yeah, well that's painting." Right? I
Hmm.
love like a story in it or
Yeah.
like some hidden thing that uh unless like if you like maybe you could come to the conclusion that that's what it is, but if not, if you were at the show and you're just like and somebody's like intrigued by what's going on in the painting, then they'd be
Hmm.
like, "Hey man, like what's up with this?" And you're just
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, oh let me tell you, there's like
Hmm.
five things going on in here that are like Easter eggs almost, right?
Hmm.
You know, like in a movie."
Exactly.
Yeah, Jordan Peele loves to do that. Easter eggs.
Oh yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm curious though. So did you mean that you're not classically trained, or?
No. No, I'm completely self-taught.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah. Yeah, I learned in the school of hard knocks.
I mean, they're really good. They're like, and you saying in your art shows, you actually you're selling, or are you just displaying?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, totes. Yeah, for sure. Uh, yeah, no, my first, yeah, I did very well my first art show. The strange thing with uh, art is it's like, where do you, I've always struggled with like, I always undersell myself. Huh?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, my
Yeah.
first show, everyone that bought paintings, they were like, dude, you sold yourself short. Hey, they were like, you should have charged more, right?
Mm,
But that's one of those tricky things where it's like, how do you, yeah, how do you gauge what value you're going to put on a painting? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
yeah.
I could see how that would be hard because you'd have your own inspiration from it. You'd have your own thoughts on the piece, and then you have to like. even convince someone else in a way to be like, okay, this, I believe it's worth this much, and then that person would have their own perception, like, oh, it's not worth that much, or it is. And it's just that
Yeah,
would
no,
be
totes, and that's
interesting,
the
different.
strange thing is it's like almost even like your own personal worth, and when you're not even like peddling your wares, you know what I mean, like art walk or something like that, or just putting on
Yeah.
like show off your pieces. It's yeah, um, when somebody's like how much does this cost? I used to sell cars for like 6 months. I was fucking
Oh.
terrible at it, but I used to sell cars, and that was always the biggest thing that they said is like when you're selling a car, you need. They said anyone that comes in that's going to try to beat like get the price down, they are trying to devalue what you're selling. Your goal is to sell it, so they don't have
Hmm.
a choice. Hey, you know what I mean? It's like you've already made it this big thing, so they have to like they won't ask for a lot. And that's
Okay. Yeah.
totally what it is with art. Okay, like when you make a piece, if you're when you're selling it, you don't want to undervalue yourself. But when empathy comes into it,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? Like when you're like a human, it's really tricky on how to. It's like when I was selling cars, and this is why I sucked at it. Was like a family would come in and their car broke down. They needed a car. And
Oh, I
I'm
see.
like,
I
man, we
see.
can't put them in this car, dude. This car this car is gonna be repossessed. Hey, you know what I mean? I'm like, there's no way they can afford this with the interest payments and everything. I've calculated it all out. This is a bad idea. And they're like, no, Clem, the best car is for anyone.
Uh, right.
And that's where I can't. That's where like with my art. It's where I always struggle on how much do you charge for a piece of art, but at the
Yeah.
same time, you can't undersell yourself, right?
Exactly.
It's a conundrum.
Exactly.
It's a conundrum, really.
Yeah. It really is. It sounds like a double-edged sword where you do need to sell, but then you have to put in all in these factors and even convince people of that. Um, so yeah, and also because it's very visual. Like I'm a writer, which is visual as well, but it's like people would even take it home and then digest it.
Yeah,
So it's I guess maybe you have like a prolonged response versus where you have a painting and it's legitimately like people see it immediately and then they have the response and you're just their face might light up, their face might, you can see it
I
change. And
love
I feel like
I love looking at the disgust on people's faces sometimes when they look at a piece. I had
oh, you do like that, you do like if they seem like
absolutely
it's
no.
negative.
Well, it's art. Like I don't want anybody
Yeah,
to be
no,
like
that's good.
angry or hurt. You know what I mean? I
Mhm.
will never paint something that's malicious or something. But I love to see the facial expressions of people when they're looking at my pieces. Like the one right behind me, right here.
Yeah.
That that's a version of the "Hear No Evil, See No Evil, Speak No Evil," but it's all nuns. It's part of the Bad Habits series that I did. Because
Okay.
so yeah, again, same like that's in the sense where it's like I like putting jokes into my art. Like you see those videos of like people at an art show and it's like a concrete floor, white walls, and it's like dead silence, and everybody's
Hmm.
sipping wine, pretentiously well dressed, and they're just like, uh oh yeah, well this is this style and this is this style, and it's just like fuck off.
I've been there. I've been to art shows like that. I When I lived in Montreal, I had a friend who was an artist, and it was like all those things you just listed, that you have like everyone's quiet and you just have wine. Wine was given out, and you're just
Well,
like,
wine
oh,
giving out is fine. It's like
oh,
the
just but the judgment and the just like, oh, everyone was quiet and just like, oh, so what does this invoke? And it's just like
Yeah, no,
three
an art show
colors.
should be a party. It should be a celebration. It should be
I
something
think
beautiful.
so.
And I don't mean a party like, well, that actually could be a really great art show. Hey, like you make a bunch of pieces and you do it in like a concrete floor, white walled place, and
Yeah. I think
and
it's
then
the quiet.
the end of it is the end of it is you have a couple friends that come out and they grab all the paintings and they smash them on the ground. Okay, like you sell it so it's like
Oh my
total
god.
pretentious art show, but then that's the art piece in itself, right? Like uh like
The
Banksy.
experience.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, like Banksy did that one where he like sold that piece and through like Sotheby's or something like that, and he sold it, and then once the person paid for it, it was like it literally went through a shredder. Okay, and it shredded the painting. Like the
Oh my
frame
god.
itself was a
Oh
shred.
no.
No, it's beautiful though. It's like eat shit. Like
It's so hard to think of it being destroyed for me though. I love like
what
anything really,
are
any
you
crew.
doing? Well, I don't know. I've kind of noticed that it's like, um, especially like it's hard to let go of art when I make it, but it still is better when I do. You know, it's like a bad relationship. Okay, it's like you're
Yeah.
you're just like this can work, this can work, this can work. Hey, and then end result is it's just like it didn't work, not by your choice. And then next thing you know, you're just like, wow, this was 100 times better. Why didn't I just do this in the first place? Hey,
Yeah.
because yeah, art is subjective, really. Hey,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, it is.
and you could. Okay, I'm going to tell you this story because this is something that bothers me a lot, like in the art basis, in the art world. Um, so there's this artist called Rothko, and he was a created artist. Okay, his paintings are
Created.
really, huh? Do you know
He
what I'm
was
talking?
created?
Well, yeah, yeah. So he created artist, like in the sense where he was an artist already. He made paintings, and he was doing small shows, and he wasn't really recognized. And then he had a show, and this wealthy person, like a millionaire, saw his stuff, and he was like, "This
Right.
is great." He bought like 5 to 10 of his pieces from that show, paid him five
Okay.
grand a piece for them, and put them away in his like art depository. You heard that Jay Z song, right? He's like, bought this painting this year, it's worth 1 million. Bought this painting that year, it's worth 3 million. Hey,
Yeah.
so this millionaire bought the paintings, put them away, and then he had links to like Sotheby's or one of those major auction houses for artists.
Okay.
So gross. And so he bought those other pieces. Then he brought Rothko. He said to Rothko, "Hey, make like 5 paintings. I'll get them into this auction house." And there's aside from people like auctioning in house, there's phone in people. So this millionaire got those pieces into the auction house, and then he paid a bunch of people to
Hmm.
phone in, and he ended up buying them, but he got them to bid the price up to make the painting
Oh.
worth 1.5 million, 2 million. And
Okay.
now, like the last, like now, Rocco sells for like 98 million.
Huh.
And there's just no context to it, though. It's just paint. What?
Y-
I know it sounds ridiculous, but it is. It's just paint. It's like Pollocks are great, but yeah, that's more where I feel like it's like a story needs to be told in
Yeah.
paintings. Yeah.
I mean that's like that's more like yeah, that he had turned that into a business. That millionaire turned it into a business, which
Yeah.
I mean, in a way, it is for sure. But like, there's the selling of it is the business part, and that's and
He
when
increased
you
the
boost
value.
up,
Yeah, he increased
yeah,
the value of the
exactly.
paintings he bought. He made every $5,000 painting that he bought worth over $1 million.
Okay, so the same ones. It wasn't new ones that he brought in. It was same ones.
No,
Okay,
no, no. The paintings he
the
bought them
paintings.
for
Yeah.
a small art show with Rothko. He put them
Yep.
aside, because that's art collectors. That's what they do. Okay,
Yeah.
they're always looking for the next big jam.
Huh. Wow.
And that's the thing is
That
you
it.
never know. Like with art being so subjective, you never know what's the next big thing. It's just a
Mhm.
question of how you get it out to people. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So you weren't classically trained, but you did. You. How long have you been painting?
How do I? Well, I usually paint with acrylic, but the concepts are never ending. Really. Uh, yeah, I don't really want to talk about the ideas that I have that I want to do, but like for example, it's just like I will like I just found this. I don't know if you can see it or not. It's like I found that mirror in a back alley
Hmm.
and just put Starry Starry Night around it. You know, it's like
Nice.
I like I I like the idea of um, reusing stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like we we tend to throw away so much. Hey,
Hmm.
like you go to a back
It's
alley and
true.
there's just so many couches, and chairs, and stuff thrown away, and that
Yeah.
just bothers
Yeah.
me. Like I'm sitting literally on a bar stool that I found in a back alley, and I just refurbished it with corduroy and stuff because, like, why not?
Exactly.
And the biggest thing is it still has the power drop in it. Like, why would somebody throw that away?
Yeah, I know. I'm the same way. I definitely. I mean, especially in a place where it was really common to do that, like in Montreal. There'd be you. It's actually like a almost like a subculture to go around and right before garbage day, and people would go because people would leave full couches, and I didn't have anything, any furniture that wasn't from though going around and seeing it and just like bringing it back, and like I'm just like ask my brother like, hey, help me bring this. He's like, what? No, we need to do it now so that it doesn't, after work. And then you do it before work or like as soon as you see it, because you like, if I come back hours later it's going to be gone. And that's great. I think, why not? I mean, if you can see it, if you can tell it's fine, and no bugs in it, then we're good to go. You're
Yeah.
golden.
I have a really hilarious story because this is so ridiculous, man. So same thing. It's like you see something in a back alley and you're like, tight, I'm gonna grab that. Hey. So yeah, I was walking through the back alley in the morning, stumbling home from a party, and I see this TV, but it's not like the small TV. It's like a 40-inch, but like with the
Okay.
gigantic back on it. Okay.
Okay.
And there's a piece of paper on it that says free. Okay. Free TV. And there's like, oh sweet. But I was like, how am I gonna get this thing there? I have no like. I tried to pick it up, and it was so huge. Like it probably only weighed 50 pounds, but it was still fucking heavy. Um, and I noticed that these people were doing landscaping right across the alley,
Hmm.
and they had a wheelbarrow, right? So rather than being rude and taking the wheelbarrow, I like leaned over the fence and I was like, "Hey guys, I got this TV over here. Do you mind if I borrow your wheelbarrow? I live like four houses down, just right at the end of the alley." I was like, "Do you mind if I borrow your wheelbarrow?" They were like, no. They're like, "Oh, that's totally fair." And then the one guy was like, "Hey, you know what? Go help him. Grab the TV. Walk with him with the wheelbarrow over there, right? And you can just bring it back." So they totally helped me out. So I put the TV in there, get it to my,
Nice.
yeah, get it to my place in the garage, go to see if it works, and the cable was cut off, like of the back. Okay? The power cable was cut off right at the end, so there was no way for me to plug it in.
Damn
So I
it.
kind of I let my frustrations get the best of me, right? And I'm just like, I'm bringing this TV back. Like, this is bullshit. But I'm like, how do I get this TV back, right? So I open up my garage door and I bring it right to the edge of the back alley, and I notice that the boss of the crew that let me use their wheelbarrow, he's got a bobcat. Okay, so he comes pulling into the back alley, and I jump in front of him, like, wait, stop. And he's like, what? And I'm like, you don't have to move. You don't have to do anything at all. You can just sit there. But I just need you to drive. I'm gonna pick up this TV and put it into your butt. I'm gonna put it into the bucket of your Bobcat, and I just need you to drive it 4 houses down, right where you're going. I need to return this TV because they cut the cable off. I tell him the whole spiel, and he's just like, all right, yeah, okay, cool, right? So I pick up the TV and I put it into the bucket, and it's like 3 houses down. And as he's driving along, I can just hear this crunching sound, and it's like, oh, this isn't good, right? And then we get to the back alley. We get to the back driving of the house that I took it from, and the woman is coming out of her house now. Hey, she's coming out of her house to pull
Okay.
out to go to work. As I'm about to grab the TV, and she looks at me, and she was just like, "I don't want that TV," right? So she starts yelling at me, and I'm just like, "You should have put free TV on it if the cable was cut off." And I went to pick up the TV, and it completely fell apart. And I'm just standing there holding on to the tube, like just the front of the TV, and all of the rest of the plastic is cluttered in the box. And she's screaming at me, and the guy's looking at me like I got to get back to work. And she's like, "You got to get back here." And I'm scooping up shards of plastic of the TV. I'm just piling in her back alley. I'm just like, oh my god, I feel so bad. But yeah, it can be dangerous sometimes when you take stuff out of people's back, out of the back alley.
That's funny that she that well, I mean, like, why didn't she just put it beside a garbage someplace? Like, you know?
Totally. Well, that was my biggest defense. I was like, you shouldn't have put like loose leaf paper taped to the front screen that said free TV. I was like, you shouldn't have said free TV. She's like, you can't bring this back here. Yeah, the guy, the Bobcat driver, he's sitting there and he's just like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. This is happening right now. And I'm just like, I'm so sorry, man. I'm so sorry. Seriously, though, while I'm scooping TV and shredding it. Yeah,
Oh my god, that's funny.
yeah,
Yeah,
ridiculous.
it's kind of nice. It's kind of nice that you. I mean, when there is stuff you can pick up, but because I
Yeah,
mean,
like, no, there's,
I don't feel there should be any shame in it. It's if it's good quality stuff, like, recycled, someone else didn't need it. There's
oh,
the stuff where you can find that's not been lightly used. It's just like, why? Why didn't they could even try to sell? I found that stuff like, why didn't you just try and sell this table? You
yeah, well,
could have. You could
yeah, get them and refurbish it,
if
man.
you. Yeah, exactly. May as well, right?
It's gonna splash back in my face. Sorry. Um,
It didn't come through. So yeah, so you're a painter. What and you said you what was the other thing you said you would do?
I'm in the process of. I'm in the like I launched my online store um,
All
the
right.
beginning of April, but it's more of a soft open
Mm-hmm.
because right now I'm in the process of trying to get all of my stuff local because they're charging a lot through the companies that I'm going through with my stores. So um,
Mm-hmm.
I'm, I'm in the process of designing unisex skirts.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
So last summer it was really hot out. Hey, like it was like plus 40,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and I was at a friend's place, and I was just like, I don't have any shorts. Like I was wearing jeans, super sweating, and I was just like, do you have anything that I could wear? And she gave me a skirt. Okay, and I
Yeah.
put that skirt on, and that breeze. Oh man, it was the greatest feeling ever. Hey,
It's so nice. Yeah. It's
yeah,
way different.
yeah. So then I started. Like I made a couple of my own skirts. The first one actually being out of, uh, I had a pair of jeans and I cut the legs off to make them into shorts.
Okay.
And then I used the extra fabric of the legs that I cut off and made it into a skirt. Hey, like, actually, one sec. And actually, like, made it into a skirt.
Oh yeah, that's like full. Yeah. So you
Yeah,
tied it together
I
or
just
what?
like, yeah, ripped up jeans and made that into a skirt.
That
And
works. I mean
then
that.
what I started realizing was girls, especially, they're like, "Oh my god, I love your skirt," and I'm like, "Yeah, check it out." And they're like, "You got pockets? You got pockets?" And I never realized like the totality of how girls don't have skirts with pockets.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Apparently it's a thing.
yeah. So girls are into it. Pockets. Just such a ridiculous thing to say, but for real. Okay. And
Yeah.
so that's like, I feel like it's going to be the next big thing. For one, men being able to be, you know what I mean? Like, regardless, like, love what you love, do what you do. You know what I mean? As long as love, respect follows, doesn't matter.
Hmm.
So, but heterosexual males, they need to look in the mirror and tell themselves they're cute more often. Hey, you know, like it
Yeah.
really is like a beautiful thing, man. It's so empowering. Where you just like stop and look in the mirror and you're just like, so you look really cute today. Hey, like men need to be able to
It
feel that
is.
way. So that's where I
I
feel
mean,
like,
it's
huh?
yeah, I think it's important because a lot of I mean, I know there's it's a I bet if we knew how many people like don't look in the mirror, it's or like get don't have a good feeling when they look in the mirror, it's
Yeah.
probably like staggering. I mean, I used to not be able to look in the mirror. I was just like, and not even well, not even like that. It just was like it just was so awkward. I'm like, I don't like to see myself at all. But I'm over that now. But it's a thing. It definitely is a thing that people should be able to see themselves in the mirrors. I
Yeah.
mean, I couldn't. I edit my podcast, so I would have to be able to look at myself now, especially. But like
Yeah, man.
when I was younger, I'd always be like, oh, it's weird to see myself and like
Well, that's a big part of big part of like growth too. Hey, I when you see a big one of my friends, he's like a big burly dude. Hey, you know what I mean? Big bushy
hmm
beard and stuff. And that summer, I was like putting my hair up in buns on either side, just
yeah.
because it's so fucking hot, man. It was wicked comfortable, you know. And yeah, one day I did it for him, and man, it was just like the most beautiful thing ever. Hey, because he like goes over to take a piss in the corner of the yard, like because we're all sitting in the backyard in the pool, and he's like goes to take a piss, and you could just the silent like there was just a moment of silence, and you could just hear him, and he was just like, "God damn it." I've never felt more airy in my life, and I like look over, and he's just like throwing his buns around, and then a few hours later, he didn't even realize, and he came out of the house, and he turned around and looked, and he saw his reflection in the doorway. He didn't even know. He didn't even know that I was. He didn't even know that I was standing there watching him. But he turned around and looked and saw his reflection. He was like, "Aw, you're so cute." Hey, and I was like, "Yeah, yeah, you did." And he looked over and he was like, "Oh, Clem, fuck yeah, man." And I just saw that look on his face where he kind of felt bad at first, but I was just like, "No, dude, fuck yeah, you do look cute, man." Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
everybody deserves to look cute. You know what I mean? It's not like
So true.
a one person or whatever. Hey, it's like everyone deserves to like look in a mirror and just be like, look at how beautiful you are. You know, like
Hmm.
I love you. Eh?
Exactly. Self love. And I
Yeah,
mean,
man.
I think a lot has changed in a way because like I was just thinking about the Harry Styles when he came out when in he was doing that fashion magazine and he was wearing a dress and that like caused so much drama for people that were like, oh, but he can't be. He's
Oh, he's
heterosexual.
gay.
Well, he's not.
Oh,
He's not
yeah.
heterosexual, but he's bi, and so it's like, oh, he can't be like he's not masculine, and he was talking about that in the magazine, like, oh, masculine doesn't matter, like the old form doesn't matter anymore, and people and
Fucking A.
that caused a lot of controversy. It's like,
Yeah,
why
but that's like, I don't know. That's like, man, you know what? Like, I love crying. Hey?
you
And
do?
fucking A. Are you kidding me? Like,
See, I'm not a crier. I don't cry very
I
often at all.
honestly feel like my youthfulness comes from crying too. You know what I mean?
Mm.
I'm not talking about blithering and being like, but I mean like when you see something beautiful
Hmm.
and it's like those amazing feelings when you like experience this gorgeous thing.
Hmm.
It's I feel like the old adage was what like real men don't cry or
Yeah,
whatever.
real
Bullshit,
men don't
man.
cry. Yeah, I
Bullshit.
agree.
How do you
I
think
agree.
women could put up with us for as long? You know what I mean? Through all of that shit, through all of the shit
Yeah,
they went through, they were allowed to. They cried, but it's like no,
yeah.
crying is good. It's good. It's so beneficial, man.
It really is. I mean, it's to 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 force yourself not to cry isn't healthy at all. It's just mostly for me. I find it very hard to. It's I get moved. I feel moved a lot. I just feel to me it's more just that it comes out in a smile with me versus like when some people hear like see something beautiful or hear beautiful music. I like smile like I but or like some people I think it's because I write so um I don't know how to describe it, but basically the times that would emotional times that would make a lot of people cry in movies or books or something, I'm like I've made it with my writing, and so it's I don't know how to describe it, but it's kind of like
It's
I'm part of the
okay.
process. I'm part of the process, so I'm not. It's like when the only way I could really equate it is like some actors who say they can't really watch themselves, or they don't feel the same emotion when they watch their own movie.
Oh
I
yeah.
it, to me, it's like I can't. Well, it's not that I would have known that other storyline, but I don't. If I in a book, I don't think I've ever cried from a book, even if it's beautiful. I don't.
I
I feel the emotion, but I don't. I've never cried
I don't think
that
I've
way.
ever cried from a book. I've only read one. No, I'm kidding. I've read more than a few books, but um, I don't think I've ever cried from a book. It's the uh, it's the emotion of seeing someone. Hey, do you
Mm,
know like
yeah.
action on their face, or at the same time, that's with me like one of the main times that I cry is when I talk about my daughter Isabel. She's going to be 17 in November, but when I talk about her to people and like these amazing experiences that we had while she was growing up, or when I hear a song that I remember her and I dancing to, and like when she was a kid, and I just immediately envision her with me, you know what I mean? And like I'll be at work and that
Hmm.
song will come on, I'll start crying. I'm not like sad or upset about it, but I it's just genuinely I'm just like thinking back on that and
Hmm.
thinking about how blessed I am that that experience happened. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Hmm.
Like that's something that will forever resonate in my head whenever I hear that song. Hey,
Yes,
just like
yeah,
with
I
a
could see
movie,
that.
yeah, just like with a movie, that's where you see it, and
I get I get that way when so I think it's when it to me everything maybe it's maybe a better way to describe it, describe it with movies or anything like that is that I still feel the distance of it being not real or not my life. But
Mhm.
I do the way I if I get emotional, it's only ever because I'm thinking about how my life has been, or like family, and like how lucky I feel I've been. That's the only thing. If I had a child, then yeah, that would be one thing that would make me emotional.
Yeah,
Though
yeah,
family,
yeah. It's one of those like a lot of people see it as ignorant. I feel like it's people who don't have children, like when or like the whole like Facebook thing where it's like um, people who don't have kids when they see somebody posting pictures of their kids and it's like, oh, this is how we see your kid, and it's sloth with a picture of a cute kid beside it. Or when like parents will, and this is where I meant ignorantly, it's like parents will say, "You don't know, man. Like you wouldn't know until you have a kid. You have no idea." But it is actually true. Like there's um because we as kids, I don't know, my opinion, not not fact, but in my opinion, it's like um we are the kids, right? Until we have our own. And then once we
mm,
have, well, if somebody has a child, then they'll start to you start to recognize like the things that you're like, oh, that's why my dad was a fucking asshole, or like that's why my mom didn't do exactly what I wanted her to do, right? You
yeah,
start catching those as you are raising another version of yourself because they're just literally it's almost like your parents are looking at you and they're like, I was not a piece of shit like this, but every parent was. You know what I mean? It's a parent.
yeah.
Pun totally intended.
Yeah, like it is kind of interesting. Like it's a cycle that restarts, and then yeah, that's an interesting way to think about. Like you are until you become the parent, then you are someone's kid, and that's all you know, and then
When
you
you're like,
start the process again.
God, give me love, give me love, give me love. But then when you have a child, if you're a good parent, then you recognize the fact that it's like, now I don't exist anymore. It's literally how I looked at it. Not in a negative way. Do you know what I mean? Like I exist to her, but it's not about me
Mm.
anymore.
See, that seems like such a hard thing concept for me personally is the idea of that. It's not even that I understand that that would be the truth of it, but like to be like, well, you're not I mean, you are important, but basically everything you do in a way is still always tied to another
Yeah,
human being, another. And that
yeah,
would be like that's a struggle for me to be like, oh, I've just been so independent my whole life. I can do whatever I want and just like not care or care, but to be like, no, you're tied to something, someone. It's just like, oh god,
yeah, man. That's I've kind of always just thought it's like
it's
once my daughter,
beautiful.
and it was basically it's like my responsibility was just to leave the world with somebody better than me.
Hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
and luckily I'm still alive because that was like 10 years ago.
Hmm.
She was just so brilliant already. Okay,
Mm.
yeah,
Well, I think it's really a good starting place for everybody is to think about wanting to leave the world better than the way you found it.
yeah.
And in the case that and I think that if it means that you came from a hard background or a terrible background, abuse in it and everything like that, then you can strive to know and do better in your own life, or if you become a parent. But then or even in the case that you had a very good upbringing and you didn't suffer from a lot of that stuff, or you can still contribute to helping other people to make sure that other people don't have the same have had the same life that you did.
I don't think a good upbringing exists.
You don't think so?
That sounds horrible to say, but I mean, like, um, Yeah, I think we all suffer. We just suffer differently. Okay.
Mm,
I don't think anybody has a good upbringing. Wealthy, like kids that are born into a trust fund, their parents are never around. Okay. Kids that aren't born into a trust fund, their parents are never around.
mhm.
Kids that do have their parents around, they are usually fucking angry and hate each other. And like it's, I think it comes from like the obligation, like in the past, okay, where it was like when you're married, you're together and that's it, okay. Nowadays, marriage is just a showboat more than it
Mhm.
is uh, like that beautiful love, where it's pretty few, few and far between, where
Yeah.
there's like a marriage that's true love, okay, where it's like, no, I'm committed to you and I'm going to work through this, and that's the unfortunate thing is when we lose sight of the fact that it's like the kids are really what matter. Okay,
Mhm.
like it's regardless of your emotions, and this is where I was saying, okay, once you have a child, you don't exist anymore.
Mhm.
In that sense, where it's like, shut up, deal with it later, be cognitive of this little being that is
Mhm.
in like is in taking in everything that you are saying and doing. So you don't exist anymore. And now you got to
Mhm.
wait. Think about it, right? The
Yeah.
hardest thing about being a parent is pretending like everything's okay when the whole world's falling apart around you because it's not about you.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's about them. Because we
And I
were all.
think that,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
and I think it is um powerful that you say there is no good upbringing. I mean, I do think there's good upbringings, and I think that a lot of, especially now where people are more cognizant of emotion and incorporating that into parenting. But I do think that there's no way that you can hit all bases, and I would agree there because
Yeah.
like I was just watching a clip yesterday of two pretty famous comedians, and and very quickly they were one was talking about how he was just realizing that being on the road and being traveling all the time. It was Bert Kreischer, and I can't remember the other guy's name, even though
It's all
I
good.
because he's not really my type of comedian, but anyway, they were talking about how he just realized that him being on the road all the time means that he's away from his children. And then he like started crying very quickly, and then they were both crying super hard, and like, how do you do this, how do you he was the one guy was asking for, I think Chris Stefano was asking for advice, and then Bert Kreischer was like, it doesn't get better because this is a business, this is what we do. And it's interesting that, like, even if you would want to think that you're providing, and then you are there when you're there, you're attentive, but there would still be a gap in the fact that they're leaving the child for that long and missing a lot of their events. And it is crazy that I don't for even for all the things that people can go events that happen in life and people go through. I don't think any parent, I think I basically realized quite a long time ago that every parent will fail you. It will happen. They will fail you in a way. That is just the inevitability.
They
And
will
so
fail.
I that lends to your point. Yeah, but parents are human. They
Oh
they
yeah,
fail.
no, it's
They sometimes they don't respond the way you wanted, the way you needed them to. So I agree with that. That's fair.
no, absolutely. It's
And you
probably
can.
like, oh, sorry. It's one of the
Oh,
things I've always
oh,
loved.
sorry.
No, no worries. It's one of those things that with my daughter, um, I haven't even told her this, but I've always considered her my little social experiment. Oh, she was growing up because I know how my life was when I was growing up and all the shit that I went through, and I was cognitive of it, and I've never wanted her to have that. So I always humanized her. Okay,
Hmm.
it's just because, just because. she's a child. It does not give me the right to stand over her and wag my finger in her face and yell at her when she does something that upsets me when she's learning how to be a human, right?
Mm.
It's it's it just doesn't make any sense. So I've always knelt before her when I talk to her, right? I kneel. I always get right down to the ground level and talk to her. And I've had times where I fucked up, man. You know, like I was supposed to be there to pick her up to take her to sell Girl Guide cookies, and I was working in a bar and I didn't end up making it on time. And I went all the way down there, and I she was so forgiving of me. Her mom was obviously pissed off because she had to leave work to go pick her up, to bring her there. I didn't show, you know what I mean? Like I left my daughter waiting, man, on the step. Like I'm
Mm-hmm.
so shitty of me. But then I got there to the Girl Guides thing and I talked to her and she's I knelt down in front of her and I apologized. And I said, I'm sorry, you don't deserve this. Hey? And she was like, it's okay, Dada. And I'm like, oh, thanks, kiddo. Hey, like,
Mm-hmm.
thank you for saying it's okay. It's not, but thank you. And she's like, it's okay. Hey, gives me a big hug. But that's how, like, had I just pretended like nothing happened, you know what I mean, and just went and picked her up, how much of an effect would that have had on her? Huh,
Mm-hmm.
story tree. That brings it back to where it's like when it's you see people and how they act, right? And those things resonate within you. And that could have been a horrible memory for her,
Mm-hmm.
but now it's a positive memory
Yeah,
because
I can. Yeah, that makes sense.
she saw my acceptance of my humanity with said situation, right?
Mm-hmm. I
Yeah.
think I think. Well, I mean, what I would guess is that y- there's always yeah, that's a good point that you actually kind of you do want to limit the times that it could be a damaging event, because that you might be right that that could have been different for her when she saw it when she was older, or if keeps it bottled up. So it's where parenting now, and I've had had a long conversation with my best friend who is a parent of two, and yeah, like we were we were basically thinking about our parents, and how different it has become. And I don't know, I do think it's better. There's a lot of times when people say that disparage the I call it new age parenting, just because it's so different, drastically different from how our parents raised
Well, like
you know
by fear, right? Controlled by fear.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah, yeah. I
You
mean,
don't
but
want to
so
get the whip. You don't want to get the belt. You don't want to get the spoon. You don't want to whatever it is, right? But like physical, you're like you do it. You're like, oh, we can't do this out of physical harm.
yeah, or just well, or just that you know not to test it. You're just like, okay. But it is different now, where there's the emotional attentiveness that, and I don't know. I think it's better. I do think it's better. I think there's the way that they're not necessarily considered to, like, the fact that, and it was, I think it's just generations have gotten better. Like, for example, like 100 years ago, kids were literally, there was like a what is it, a saying that people would legitimately believe and say. They said children are to be seen, not heard, and that's what the parents actually thought. Like, you come out like, oh, there's some guests here, you can see them, like, oh, look at your auntie, whatever, get hugged, or you see these people, and then, okay, bye bye. And then it's just it I think each generation has gotten better, like, okay, now you can speak, you can start to speak, and onward from there. And
Well, yeah, that falls into a disregard, right? You know what I mean? Like, But at the same time, that disregard of like parents being like, "Oh, kids should be seen, not heard." Um, that's like, show me that you care enough. Okay, it's like, show me that you have a structured life and that you have a
Hmm.
family and you're married, right? Show me your kids, then put them away. But at the same time,
Exactly.
that's probably where most of my growth, like a lot of my growth, happened growing up as a kid, where it's like I could ditch out to the woods with my friends and we could just go fuck around for like 8 or 9 hours,
Yeah.
and nobody would give us a hard time. You could go and play in the park and the parents were just like, yeah, sweet man, they're gone, awesome.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's true.
Whereas maybe that's where it's a little bit overbearing, maybe for my daughter, where she's like, okay, I get it, dad, fuck off already.
Yeah, that makes sense too. Because, I mean, yeah, the I think some people, well, to me especially, and some people I talk to who, um, are parents or on the way to
Starting.
become parents, is that to have that balance of creating individuality, and then versus the normal fears that parents have, especially nowadays, of being aware of you know them being alone or with people they don't know, or all
Yeah.
the terrible people or creeps that could be out there, so they worry about
Like,
that, but you want them to be independent.
yeah, it's like finding the line between your child, like it's like finding the line so that you're a parent, but you're still like the fine line between being a best friend and a parent
Hmm.
is really tricky. But I never thought in my life I would do this, but a couple of years ago, I literally, like, we always told Isabel when she was growing up, it was like, when you're walking home from school, if anybody opens up the car door, you run, right? But she moved to Nanaimo, so then I have to teach her about fighting, actually, because she had like kids bullying her and she was in, like grade 9.
Oh,
And I had to tell her, how to fight, which is gross, you know,
yeah.
that I actually even had to have that discussion with her.
Hmm.
Because I would rather, I always told her, I would love to tell you that life is always amazing, but it's not. Hey, it's like life can suck sometimes, but like there's so much beauty in it that you just gotta you gotta sift out you gotta sift out the beauty a little
Hmm.
bit.
Hmm.
And sometimes
It's
it's,
true.
yeah. And when she was in school, it was like, um, she's like, "Oh, this girl's being so mean," and I was like, "Well, I'm like, kiddo, school is a very short period in time. Okay,
Yeah.
like it's hard to believe, but like kindergarten to grade 12, it seems like forever, but
Yeah,
it's
it does.
nothing compared to the extent of life. Like I'm
Hmm.
41 now. Okay, like I turned 41 just last April, and it's nothing really. And I was like, you're gonna go through, like, you're gonna meet a bunch of people that you're gonna wish would be around you forever, and
Hmm.
then you're gonna meet other people that you wish would go away and you would never see them again. And
Hmm.
some of those people you wish would go away are gonna be there longer than the people you wish would be there forever. And there's nothing we can do to stop it.
Hmm.
But it's kind of like, it's our job, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
we got to be the good in the world, like Aaron.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly
Exactly. We
how
got
we
to be the good in the
like,
world.
yeah, yeah, we
And
got to
and
be that few that makes the far between seem closer.
yes, and I was just thinking about it the other day, and like what I could almost become emotional at is that like thinking about um people I know who are now parents, and like it's like it's weird because like I believe in them. I believe in the people they will create, because they're such good people, and it's good. It's we need we need people like that in the world. So I trust them, from the parents that they are, to
Yeah,
have make good people.
yeah. It's like Nas said, right? Nas said, he said, hood rats don't abortion their wombs because we need more soldiers. Hey,
Oh. Yeah.
but it's the truth in all states. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not talking about the Americas. I mean, like in
Yeah.
general. And what's the world going to be like if Isabel wasn't here? Okay,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? Like when I leave, at least I know now that there's somebody else still spreading the good word, and it's not even religion. Okay, like just
Hmm.
spreading the beauty of humanity. Okay,
Hmm.
because that's the thing, right? So I have this term. I call it story tree.
Okay.
So when we started this conversation, we planted a seed, and the tree started growing,
Hmm.
and it's branched off into a few different conversations, but it
Yeah.
always ends up at the root of the story. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and that's where it's like I feel safe. I feel good about the fact that like with religion, people can be preachy. It's just all how we word it.
Hmm.
I don't even know what I believe in. I do believe that there is good in
Hmm.
people that we tend to lose sight of due to our things that we take in to separate us from what humanity is, right? I don't know.
Yeah. It's interesting that there's always been the belief that um I find it interesting because you when you'd said that there's things that divided humanity, and sometimes religions have said like it was even just language itself started dividing people, which is kind of a fair point. Like different language, so you might not be able to converse with this person. Like one way we could the divide started happen from when they say religion. But at the same time, there's when you the language is so powerful that it can bring us still back to be able to discuss, like, and maybe you have to learn another different language, or maybe you have to like uh go experience something else, but experience a new place. But there's ways that people can learn and stop the division of. I do think that there's the mindset of it's not something I personally understand, because I've lived in different places, but some people like to just kind of live in a homogenous community of like people they know were born into Dubai. They're in a small town, and that's so they don't see very much of differences, and they even might like that. I don't know. I personally don't understand it, because I like to see the difference. I like to meet new people, right? Like we're doing now. I just like to meet and explore those differences.
Yeah, that's it. What so like in the sense of uh, language and people not understanding language. I don't know if you're familiar with this. I found it really interesting, but I didn't find out probably it was probably like 10 years ago that I actually realized that the term babbling
Right. Yeah.
is actually cathodically based. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
so in the Bible, everyone was building this tower, the Tower of Babel,
Mm-hmm.
and God, in His wrath, destroyed this tower
Mm-hmm.
and dispersed everyone across. This is the Bible. Equally, where I have questions of the validity of the Bible. So God already literally had thrown the only man and woman of the earth out into the wastelands, and hundreds of thousands of years later, um, more people were born, and they built this gigantic tower,
Yeah.
and they were trying to reach God, and God, in His wrath, destroyed the tower and said, "No one is allowed no one is allowed to be close to God.
Hmm.
And he destroyed it and he dispersed the people around the world and made them all incapable of understanding each other. They were all speaking in different languages.
Exactly. So when they were hearing each other, they just sounded as if they were babbling, and
And
it's
that's where
like,
the
oh.
term babbling comes from, is
Hmm.
actually from the Bible. Yeah.
I'd have to say that would be a pretty to have been a group that was together and united, and then speaking to each other, and then suddenly be dispersed and like been able not being unable to understand each other. That's a pretty evil thing to have happened if you actually think of like that
Yeah,
was
well
my
that's why it's
neighbor.
the
That
wrath
was
of,
my neighbor.
well that's why it's the story of the wrath of God, right?
Right. Yeah.
When I don't feel like wrath should be an existing word in the dialogue of God. Like, it shouldn't
It's
be hate. It should be love. It should be
right.
positivity, growth. Okay. Yeah.
Well, it's a hard concept to be like he would completely love but do those things. So yeah, that's one reason I could never be religious myself. I'm definitely not, is because I well, one of the reasons I should say. I have several reasons, but but that's one of them, is that is the is it's just I couldn't reconcile that you
Give me,
could.
yeah, it's like I could give you multiple reasons why.
Yeah, I have a list, and I've even
Yeah.
written it out several times. It's just like why it wouldn't make sense to me for at least what's shown in the religion. But anyway, yeah. So I think it's interesting that that's a way he would use wrath to control, but he was supposed to be of love too. So I'm like, it would be so. I
Well,
don't want to. I don't
it's
understand it.
like they should have just called it the conundrum or something
Yeah.
like that. They should have called it the Bible because it's like a conundrum. It literally is like massive amounts of double standards.
Right.
And
1,000,000%.
but again, story tree,
Right.
hope is how people exist and live,
Yeah.
and hope can exist without faith. So as long as you're not leading the crusades and murdering a bunch of people, you know what I mean? As long as you're not saying, "Oh, this is in God's name" or whatever,
Hmm.
as long as it's like your faith is all the good things from any religion,
Hmm. Yeah.
fucking hey, man. Totally.
Yeah.
Like, please find hope in that. If you want to go to the church, if you want to go to church every Sunday, great. Just don't be evil about it. Don't use it as an
1,000,000.
excuse. Hey?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
use it as
Yeah.
a reason, man. Be like,
Yeah.
fuck no.
Exactly.
I don't want to be a terrible person because, like, I just need to be good.
Hmm.
That's where, again, yeah, story tree, like, back to my grandmother. That's where I feel like my positivity now still comes from. And, like, my hope, my caring, my compassion. It's all just from this beautiful woman who just would give anything for everyone, regardless of what they believed, because that's what
Hmm.
humans do. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. My little grandma was similar to that too. My little grandma was always part of her church and loved and so sweet and kind, and she's it's crazy. It's really funny that despite her having been so old even by when I was a child, and I think she died when I was like 9 or 12, or I can't remember, but when I was still quite young too. But the fact that she could be so well loved by a community, and I mean, my mom is her so much in terms of how her kindness, and one of the best people. Like I don't even think for however long I'm gonna live in the world, I think my little grandma is probably gonna be one of the nicest people I will ever have met. And you know it
Yeah.
from people, you know it from being having been around her, people who talk about her, and like it's just like it's just genuinely a good person.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. It's like take that beauty and strive to be even
Yeah.
like 1/10 as beautifully amazing as you remember that person being, right?
I used to think of that quite a bit, like thinking about like I wish I was like I don't even think I don't think I ever could be. I don't think I am as good a person as she was. But like I used to think that quite a bit when I was a teen. Like I would actually want to think about being as good a person as her. And it's funny because she had the religious angle, but then my other grandma who lived much longer, because she was younger, but was pretty much anti-religion in a way, like in the way of
Hmm?
just, and she'd always say like she's like just be good, just who. I love that, and
Not so much like
that's
my
what.
dad was like God is John Cleese, and my grandma Saint. But
That's what. Okay, why John Cleese? I mean, other than just making the joke, but like
he was born and
John
raised
Cleese
in
would
England.
hate that. He would
He was born
hate
and raised
that.
in England. But that's my dad. But that's why he said that. He grew up on Monty Python. But
Yeah, that makes
yeah,
sense.
it's like the
But I'm
polar opposite.
but like I mean John Cleese himself, if he heard like I'm not God, he'd be like I'm not. I what they did with all the stuff they made was brilliant. He's amazing.
But yeah, but when I said that, that's like the polar opposites, right?
Yeah,
Hey, my dad to my grandmother when I was growing up. That's what you're saying right now. Hey, like
yeah.
yeah, was it was like positive beauty and then negativity. I don't know.
Was that negativity
No,
with how he meant it?
from the other grandmother.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay.
I don't want to say that it was negativity, but I just wasn't.
Just wasn't just wasn't the same amount of positivity as you got from the other side.
No, I thought that was the point that you were trying to make, where it was like the one grandma, like she didn't
Oh,
fuck.
you meant my my situation. No, no,
Yeah,
no. They were both highly
positive.
positive. But Nana was just like to the point of like, why do these religious people do this? And she just thought it was such nonsense of what people
Yeah,
do. And then she's like, just be a good person. She didn't. She she had a stepmother who abused her because of religion and
yeah,
was like, oh, you're unfaithful. And would hurt her for it. And she knew, even then, it's kind of interesting that even someone from such an older generation knew like when what was too far. Like she would grab her and she'd with her ear, and like she'd start bleeding down the ear. It's like the kid's already moving with you. You don't have to pull that hard.
yeah.
That type of thing. So even
Yeah.
Nana knew like that was just, she called her a sadist. Her stepmom a sadist.
It was, yeah, sadist, sadistic. Yeah, I always get those two mixed up.
Oh no, yeah. So
No, sadistic or
sadist,
masochistic. You said sadist. Yeah.
masochist. Yeah, it is. Yeah, masochist is one way you like it.
I know that's the problem. I keep cutting myself and talking about how sadistic I am.
No, that's opposite. That's opposite.
Well, it's opposite day, I guess. Then, hey, is what I would say as a joke. I'm kidding. I don't ever cut myself.
Well, I mean, I just thought that was a joke, but yeah, yeah, no, it
Hey,
is.
no, I know we've been talking for a while. Uh, that's cool. Do you have one more question, and then we can? We're gonna. I told you round one, dude. I fucking said this. Okay, I
Yeah,
totally called it.
yeah, we reached already an hour and a half, so it's pretty much
Do I
close to it
know?
anyway. That's awesome.
No, it's all
Um,
good. I don't.
so so what about the so when you are selling, do you have like do you do commissions, or do people reach
Absolutely,
out to you at all?
absolutely, yes. Yeah, you can contact me on my website, clemcat.ca. I 100%. It's one of my favorite things to do, is to have people give me several ideas of a painting that they want, like something that doesn't exist, and then I make it for them. I always do it pretty reasonably priced. The only thing that I ask is like for a commitment to me doing a painting for somebody is pay for my materials, and then when it's finished, we'll agree on a piece. Like so with like the gang signs pieces, um, I had a friend who she was really big into communism.
Okay,
So she wanted
that's
me to do
fine.
like
I
a
mean,
Karl Marx gang sign piece or something, right?
mhm.
And I was like, no, well, that's boring. Let's do something different. And I love doing pieces where there's a lot of research put into them. Okay, so
Mhm.
when she said I want to do a Karl Marx piece, so then it was just like, okay, well, give me a moment. Like, I'm not extremely familiar with communism, so I got to, you know, so I got to like look into it a bit. So then what I ended up doing was making her a painting of Karl Marx sitting in a log cabin, like by the fire on a chair,
Okay.
reading the Communist Manifesto to Rosa
Oh,
Luxemburg, to a young Rosa Luxemburg, because like after Karl Marx went out in the research that I did, after Karl Marx was going out, Rosa Luxemburg became like a prominent push for communism. So I made a painting where it's
oh,
like,
okay.
yeah, so I made a painting where it's like a cabin and Karl Marx is sitting in a chair by the fire, and a young Rosa Luxemburg is kneeling down on the ground in front of the fire, listening to him read the Communist Manifesto.
That's really cool. That's a really cool idea.
So, if anybody has a dream or an idea of anything that they want to be painted, and they can, it's like, give me three or four things. Well, I don't even need to limit it. Give me some ideas of something that you want painted, and I will paint it.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Dude, I want to give you a big hug right now.
you're a
Like
hugger.
here.
Yeah,
Oh, I love hugs, man. No,
I
but
love hugs too.
no, this has just been like really enjoyable. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, it's
really
been
glad
so
we
much
did it.
fun.
No fucking a. So yeah, that's round one. We'll see you two. I'll see you two later.
For sure. Yeah, that's was so much fun. Thank you for being on. I definitely want to talk to you again. It was so much. It was, well, I mean, I can't say I didn't think it would be interesting, but like, I mean, I got, it definitely was interesting, and I had like basically no insight of who you are because Aaron didn't really say anything. He was just like, "Oh, I think he's like a painter or like he does something along those
Well,
lines."
he
He's like,
doesn't even
"Just
really
ask
know
him, just
you
ask
either.
him." He kept just saying, "Just ask him." I was like, "Well, you know how to." I was like, "Okay," but it'd be fun too. Yeah,
Dude,
definitely want to get
no,
that done.
like so tight. By the time you're ready to go, I will have a bunch more stuff to talk to you about.
Awesome. Okay, great. Thank you so much, and I'll see you later.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
thanks for the
Peace, Dad.
listeners tuning in. Yeah, thanks for the listeners tuning in. Thanks for listening in and catch me on the next one.
Word.